Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew. Today we're actually going to be replacing the intercooler on my Pontiac Solstice. I got a check engine light and the car went into limp mode, and when I looked into it, it was a P0101 code. I talked to the guys, the support team at Trifecta, and they suggested that it was most likely the intercooler, that the MAF airflow sensors, which is what my OBD2 was suggesting, that they don't usually have an issue. So they said to go ahead and check out the intercooler, which I did, and as you guys should be able to see right there's like a little hairline crack on the end tank right there. That's a pretty common issue on the intercooler of these cars. They either crack here on those or in the middle. So I just got to go ahead and remove the intercooler. Obviously you can see I've already removed the front bumper already, just to make sure that was the issue. I got to remove the 2 bolts on this side, 2 on the other, and then I had to disconnect the intercooler from the charge pipes on either side. I already have another intercooler on the way. I ordered a Han intercooler, so it should be here in a couple days. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. That way we're ready to put that one in once it gets here. Alright, well, I got the intercooler out. That was a little trickier than I was expecting it to be. I removed this clamp as trying to just slide it out, but it was a little too tight, so I removed it from there. I put these charge pipes in, so I was a little more familiar with how to take them out. This would have been easier if I had removed these 2 screws from underneath, but I couldn't see them, so what I ended up having to do was drop the whole plastic thing altogether. And I believe with the Han intercooler I'm gonna have to clearance this, so I'm gonna have to cut some of it if I'm right. So the fact that I got it out is fine, but when it comes time to put it back, I'll probably I'll either mock it up and see how it fits, or try putting this part on first, the intercooler, and then this bottom part. But for right now that's all I can do because my intercooler hasn't arrived yet. But I'm gonna go ahead and remove this intercooler, that way it's ready for the next step. So my intercooler came in today. That's the stock one, and this is the Han intercooler. It came with these extra bolts, a sticker, and the intercooler. I actually got this off of one of the Pontiac Solstice Facebook groups. There's a guy that had one, and I bought it off him. This is actually the biggest one that I found. There's Han, Performance Auto Works, and RPM Motorsport. This was the biggest. It's going to be a little tricky mounting it up. I will have to move this brace here. There's 2 bolts here, 1 underneath, and then 2 back here underneath the wiring. There's a bolt back there that I'll have to get to. 2 of those actually, and then the mounts on the side, I'm gonna have to move them back, both of them. Another thing they said, which isn't that big a deal, but you just got to get these little insulators and flip them. There's a little metal insert like this. You just got to make sure that's on the other side. And then I'm also going to have to clearance, I think I said this before, but this plastic shroud. There's a guy who already did an intercooler replacement like this, so I'm referencing his video. I think his name was Mark Davis. And he showed where to cut, so I'm gonna have to take a little bit out of this one and that one, just so it doesn't push, into the back of the intercooler, because it was making contact in his video, so just so it doesn't damage any of it. So you can definitely see the size difference when you just compare even just comparing the width. It's much wider. The core is also a little bit longer. It's also taller, because you can see here they have these like black hoses on the bottom, and on the Han intercooler it's just all the way through. So I'm gonna go ahead and start making those adjustments here that we can fit it in place. The new one is also significantly heavier. This one is the old one is about 10 pounds. This is like 23.5 from when I weighed it. So you are getting more airflow, but it's also more weight, but I'm not too worried about that. So I'll let you guys know once I've moved all this, and also when I've made those cuts to clear the intercooler on the shroud. Okay, so I pretty much did everything I said I was gonna do. I took about a 1/4 inch out of every like slat. I moved this back as much as I could. It didn't really move back that much. I flipped these little insulators and I moved these brackets back as much as I can. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back along with the intercooler and just kind of mock everything up and see how it goes. If it fits good, then I'll start tightening up and putting everything else back together. Alright, well, the intercooler's finally fitted up. It was definitely not easy. It's great that it's one of the biggest intercoolers that fit this car, but the fact that it is so big made it really difficult to not hit this metal piece up here, to not run into this bar. That was a pain, as well as this angled piece right here that goes up. It was all touching the intercooler. We actually had to, I removed this bar. On other intercooler videos, I've seen people cut that this metal piece right here, but I didn't have to do that. What I did is I removed it and I put some washers to kind of bring out this brace, and then as you can see here, I also put 2 washers here to angle the intercooler up a little bit to get it away from other things that it was hitting. But it is finally all in place. What I have to do next is connect the intercooler to the charge pipes, but after what I just did, I feel like that's going to be super easy, knock on wood. Then once it's there, the car's functional. It's just a matter of putting all the plastics and putting on that front bumper again. So I'll get back to you when we're a little further along. Alright, so I was able to attach both charge pipes to the intercooler, but I tried putting this plastic back on as well as the bumper, and the intercooler was too far forward, so I had to drop it again. I actually removed that black piece that was here that was really close and touching at one point, just so I can try to get it further back, and I'm still touching on this plate here, back here. Right now it's not, but I still need to move it back further from the test fitting I've done. So I think the next thing we're gonna try to do is lower the intercooler again, so totally disconnect it and see if we can bend this up. We have to do something, either modify this so the intercooler can fit further back and higher up a little bit, or we start modifying this bracket. So when I figure out how to fit it, I'll go ahead and update you guys on what needed to happen and what we did. So everything's back out, the intercooler's down. What we're gonna be doing is, instead of bending it, we're gonna cut it instead, because there are some welds. So we're gonna be cutting like from here, kind of like towards this circle, and then from here towards the circle, kind of just taking out a 1/4 here so the intercooler can sit up higher. And same thing on this side. These black marks are roughly where the intercooler was making contact. So hopefully when we clear that, we'll be able to move it up higher and further back and give us more clearance. So I'm gonna get a cutoff wheel and just take that off with the grinder, and we'll see how it fits. Alright, so we've clearanced this part. We didn't cut the whole thing out. We just cut a line right here and here and then hit it up with a hammer. It was also still close. There was a part right here that we just notched out because it was getting closer and we didn't want to mess with it too much. We did the same thing on this side. We notched this and bent this up. So now we're gonna go and do another test fit, make sure everything's good, and then we'll keep going from there if it's all good. So with everything we've cut, this is how it fits. And you can see it's pretty close, but nothing is touching there. Same thing on this side. It's close but not touching, and then when you look through here, that pipe is close but it's not touching, and same thing on the other side. So now we're just gonna grab the bumper, see if it fits before we bolt everything else up. So after mock fitting it, it definitely fits better and higher and further back, which is good, but we also had to modify this a little more. So we grinded a tiny bit higher, but there was like a flange that was coming out this way before, so we pretty much eliminated that. And then you can see at the bottom it kind of bows out. We just heated up with a heat gun and kind of bent it back so it wasn't rubbing against the intercooler as much as it was. It was slightly touching it at some point, so just to, you know, we just clearanced it a little more so it didn't interfere with it. So now we're gonna put it all together, do another test fit, and hopefully we'll be done with that and we can just continue installing everything else. So now the intercooler is in, and that plastic shroud is also behind it. This metal bar that went here, we've gone ahead and cut a chunk out with the cutoff wheel, and then grinded it down too, so to take away the sharp edges. There's also a kind of pointy end, kind of like right here, that I cut out because that was kind of like getting in the way when it was bolting up. It was like knocking into that, so got rid of that. Now I'm just gonna spray it black just so it doesn't rust or anything, and then put in here. I'm still putting some washers here. I might put some in the back too, just to give it a little bit of space, because so we have clearance against the tank. Alright, so the intercooler's in. I also put this plastic piece in, as well as this metal brace that I told you about. We cut out what we needed to, and then I used 8 washers, 2 in the front, 4 in the front, 2 here and 2 here, and then 4 in the back on the other 2 bolts. But now this plastic piece is still not quite lining up how it should. We have it clipped in right there. You can see these clips. Well, you could. But it's hitting on the bottom. So let me see if I can get this light. So right here, when it comes up like it should, it starts hitting here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna heat up this plastic, and then we're gonna use the intercooler to push the plastic back so it gives us clearance, and then we can bring it like it should be up and around the intercooler like that, and then the front bumper should be able to get that. We still have to modify these brackets that come here, but it should be closer when we do that modification. So we were able to get this where we needed to just by heating this this back part up, the black plastic. We hit it with a heat gun and we pushed it back. I also switched it out. Before there was just the black oh, there you go, that bolt. It used to just be the push through like clip-in things. It used to be one of these that we took out, and instead we put a bolt and a nut just to really hold it in there. There was another bolt that used to come underneath that it's not being used anymore since we had to push it back so much in order to get this up front. And this bar, we actually didn't modify the bar, but what we did is we use this is a piece of PVC just as a spacer back here, and then we used another little, we made this little bracket just to connect where it was lining up here to the hole underneath, which would be right there, this thing right here. So I'm going to just repeat this on the other side. Then just a matter of putting on the bumper and all the cosmetic stuff, putting the lights back together, but it should fit everything like we need to. If this is a little too close, then I'll just go ahead and I'll put some of this like neoprene just to help it, but it's a lot better than it was before. We did all the modifications that we needed to, and this is a pain to modify. I saw some people do it, but they all had a vise, and it's pretty awkward to do without a vise. So we're making do. I'll let you guys know if we run into anything else. Besides that, I'll just be throwing the bumper back on and show you what it's like afterwards. Because of the extra length that we also need, because of this spacer that we're running, it's just a longer bolt. It's the same thread, it's just going longer. And then we have these, which we're holding in the hardware before, but also the stock hardware for the other intercooler, it's all the same thread, so you can use that too if you need it to just be a little longer. So I'm using like a mixture of what was used here and from the stock intercooler as well. As you can see, I also went ahead and added some like of that neoprene padding behind the bolt right there, just to make sure it didn't do any or interfere or damage anything with the intercooler and, you know, cause any issues. So now at this point, really all that's left is I've already connected these. I don't know if I told you that, the charge pipes, they're all connected. Only thing left really now is to throw on the bumper, as well as these tubes for the intercooler that go in right there to cool the brakes. So yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll fill you guys back when everything's put back on. So as you can see, I have everything buttoned up on the car. I got the bumper on, everything's tightened up how it needs to be. I've already run it, it runs great. I didn't notice any like turbo lag issues with the bigger volume of air. I also sent over a data log. I sent over a data log to Trifecta Tuning, and they said that no adjustments needed to be made on the tune. They told me to do that because there might need to be some adjustments. So maybe if you have a different setup, you might need to make some adjustments on your tune. So keep that in mind. But based on what I had, it was all fine. One thing I did want to point out is that the intercooler does sit a little lower than the front splitter now, you know, front bumper. So you have this little lip right here. As you can see, the intercooler is a little bit lower, but it isn't lower than this like rubber air diverter. But just keep in mind, especially when you're parking, you don't want those little concrete curbs, because I know this sometimes will touch if you get too close. So if you get past it, then you're going to be hitting your intercooler, so you got to be careful with that. And that's with everything I did to get this intercooler up higher, so just keep that in mind. But the performance of it is really good. I have no issues. I really like it. The only thing I will say is that it was a pain to fit because of it being so big. So if you feel like you don't maybe need the performance of the biggest intercooler, go with a smaller one. It should be a little easier to fit. With that being said, if you guys have any questions on the install, feel free to leave comments. If you liked it and it helped you out, be sure to leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos in the future. Bye guys.